Okay, so I have a puzzle for you. We're going to connect a 90s sci-fi masterpiece, a teenage model from the slums of Mumbai, and some of the biggest global tech trends happening right now. They seem totally random, I know, but they share one powerful, surprising idea that might just change how you look at everything.
So, what is that connection? Well, that's the whole point of this explainer. And every single insight we're about to dive into comes straight from one fantastic source, NishIsHere's weekly newsletter.
Yep, we're unpacking issue 85 of Weekly NishIsHere. You can think of it as a weekly dose of expertly curated connections between tech, pop culture, and business that cuts right through the noise.
And we're not talking about just a handful of people. Over 2,000 curious minds get this every single week. But this isn't just some random list of links. Oh no, it's way more thoughtful than that. See, this entire issue is built around one single powerful concept that ties it all together.
And here it is, the power of setting boundaries. This is the idea, the golden thread we're going to follow as we jump between culture, business, and some truly incredible personal stories.
Now this quote, this is our lens for everything else. It totally flips the script on what boundaries even mean. It's not about being rigid or building walls. It's just about being clear from the get-go. And you know, what's so cool about this idea? Sometimes you have to draw a line just so you know exactly where to smash right through it.
Okay, so let's take this idea of boundaries and go big picture. How does this play out in culture? You know, how do we as a society collectively push against the limits of what we think is even possible?
You want to see a perfect example? Just look at Google's annual Year in Search. The video for 2025 isn't just a collection of viral moments. It is a snapshot of humanity's constant, collective drive to do what everyone says is impossible.
And what's so wild is just how we do this. It's everywhere. We're talking epic solo sailing trips around the entire globe, intense tennis rivalries like Alcaraz and Sinner that have us on the edge of our seats, all the way to cultural crazes like those Labubu toys. And of course, the huge leaps we're seeing in AI and entertainment. We are just constantly redrawing the map of what we can achieve.
Speaking of pushing boundaries, let's talk about a cultural moment that didn't just push them, it blew them to smithereens. I'm talking about The Matrix. Back in 1999, this movie landed and completely changed the sci-fi game forever.
And that's a really great question, right? Think about it. So many movies from that era look, well, they look old. But The Matrix, it still feels so sharp, so ahead of its time. So what's the secret? Well, it all comes down to how it broke every single rule.
They didn't just break the rules, they rewrote the whole playbook. That's why it's timeless. You had the mind-bending bullet time effects that nobody had ever seen before. But it wasn't just visual candy. It was tied to these deep philosophical questions about reality and control, which, let's be honest, feel even more important today with AI all around us. The Wachowskis didn't just make a cool action movie. They built an entire world designed to push cinema to its absolute limit.
All right, so from these huge cultural moments, let's zoom in a bit. Let's see how this exact same theme of breaking boundaries plays out on a much more personal and economic level. We're talking about real people and real companies changing their own worlds.
Okay, get ready for this one. This is a story that is just wow. It's about breaking through socioeconomic boundaries that most of us can't even imagine. Meet Melisha. Her journey is an absolute testament to what the human spirit is capable of.
I mean, just let this sink in. She grew up in the slums of Mumbai, selling tissues on the street when she was just 6 years old. Then she gets discovered by a talent scout, and suddenly she's on the cover of magazines like Vogue and Cosmopolitan. But here's the best part. She didn't stop there. She's still studying, and now she's running her own jewelry business. Her story is just this incredible, powerful reminder that your circumstances do not have to define your destiny.
And it's not just individuals. This whole spirit of breaking through barriers, it's happening in the world of global business too. We're seeing this massive shift where brands are completely changing the rules of how you go international.
Just look at these names. Brands like Shein, Temu, and PopMart, they've absolutely exploded onto the global scene, and they are geniuses at this. They use platforms like TikTok not just to move product, but to weave themselves into the very fabric of the culture in new countries. They're basically erasing the whole idea of geographical boundaries.
Okay, so we've seen boundaries being broken in culture, in business, and in these incredible personal stories. But the collection from NishIsHere saves the most powerful idea for last. It's a bit more profound, and it really gets you thinking. This quote, right here, it just reframes the whole conversation.
I helped a man climb a mountain and found that I too had reached the top. It suggests that maybe, just maybe, the biggest boundaries we face aren't out there, they're inside us, especially that line we draw between our own success and helping someone else succeed.
And that's the final huge takeaway. The ultimate boundary we can break is the one between me and us. When you help someone else get to where they're going, you're not just giving them a boost, you're lifting yourself up too. It's a total mindset shift from pure competition to collaboration. It's a whole new definition of what it really means to win.
So, what does this all mean? From the digital world of the Matrix to the real-world grit of Malaysia, this universal drive to push past our limits is what moves us forward. But maybe the biggest, most important boundary we can challenge is the one that separates our own success from helping others achieve theirs. You know, all these connections came from one place, and if you found this as fascinating as I did, you should really check out the source for this whole explainer. You can find way more of these curated insights over at NishIsHere.com. So, the final question is, what boundaries are you going to push this week?